Remember, this entire manga and every manga on this channel is hand-drawn by myself, and now you too can learn exactly how to make your own viral Dragon Ball mangas at www.makemanga.com, where you can learn directly from me. My mangas have got me on TV, on newspapers, and even earned me over $60,000 a month on Patreon alone. And now, you can click the link in the description and pinned comment of this video and do it yourself. You only need to see the website to see just how many thousands of you are taking this opportunity right now. And don't forget also, the next video to this Ultra Vegito series has already been made and is live now on my Patreon right now for over 4,500 of you incredible fans to watch after this. Again, links are in the pinned comment and description. Enjoy. So our story continues with the tragic aftermath of Bardock's brutal death. Possibly the most brutal of all deaths suffered by a Saiyan in the entirety of Dragon Ball, resulting in his grandson Goten exploding in untold rage, sorrow, and anger. His raw, monstrous, reflecting his completely unexpected, powerful aura, as his own eyes would emulate Bardock's, taking on the Ikari yellow appearance, along with his black spiked up hair, as thunder and lightning would crackle in all directions. And with Trunks nearby, having been blown back now to now be laying on a tree trunk for support, all he would be seeing would be a giant column of never-ending energy shooting into the sky. Goten! What's happening to you? And with pure shock on his face, able to actually sense this non-divine, true Saiyan energy skyrocketing, Trunks' face would be full of surprise, his eyes and mouth ajar, not being able to do much but watch. What's happening now? This energy signature. Why does it feel exactly the same as the last one? Wait, those eyes. As even Dante the Demon God, in all his untallied power, would be forced to take notice, with his observant skills, would immediately deduce the strange similarities taking place. But in a much sadder sight, back with the fallen hero Bardock, whose ripped off face still bears just a bloody skeleton. He would finally drop dead on his back harshly. No more sounds, no more movement, and hopefully, no more pain. Grandpa! No! But the instant his body would fall, Goten's primal eyes would turn and detect him immediately. His eyes bloodening red with rage as he would stare until... with truly bone-shuddering screams, resembling more an Uzaru than human, Goten would be pushed even further into this strange transformation and power. But these groans would only continue to become more beastly, as now even Goten's face, widening as his teeth would sharpen, would also become far more feral. This sight had been seen many times before, and it was the sight before a Uzaru transformation. Whoa, Goten! You're transforming without a tail! Dad said that was impossible! As Trunks, suddenly thinking back to one of his father's many lectures, would be as bemused as all of us, at Goten's natural ability to do the legendary Saiyan transformation without any tail. And all would be confirmed once the rest of Goten's body would begin to change also, forcefully growing in muscularity from his once childlike body, his biceps and arms simply exploding out of his clothing. And as his roars would get gnarlier and gnarlier, as expected, his once flawless skin would become overgrown with hair, his hands becoming beastly, lined with claws, and from behind, a tail, now forcefully beginning to sprout from scratch. In the shadows, as Goten's new form would finish, a new Oozaru would be born. One with shining yellow eyes instead of red, and its fur a golden yellow too. As finally in his gigantic eruption of noise, Golden Oozaru Goten would be here. The first in this universe's history to be born without a tail. His size even greater than a normal Oozaru, his muscle structure far more impressive, as the planet itself would tremble in response to his sheer power. Oh crap! Goten! I'm gonna have to get out of here! As Trunks, now fearing for himself, would be left contemplating departure. Damn it! While in complete contrast, Dante would stare forward with urgency, eager to determine just what had made its appearance on the battlefield so suddenly. To that end, with Golden Oozaru Goten flexing in the distance, Dante would shoot forward to meet him, fearlessly stopping right in front of the beast, who now turns his attention to him, roaring with the same anger and intensity as before. Mindless creature, you were created from that little Saiyan? How peculiar. Leaving Dante with a more bewildered look, as whatever was in front of him would seem more animal than intelligent being. Grandpa! But even in this form, the roar calling on Bardock would still come out. Somewhere in there, Goten still existed. As immediately, stretching its mouth wide open like trying to swallow the royal guard, instead, a powerful concentration of pure primal energy would form right before Dante's face until... with an almighty roar, all the guard would be able to see is energy, coating everything in sight. Dumb beast! As trying his best to make up for his misjudgment, he would instantly be forced to bring both arms up, crossed to defend. But only nanoseconds later, would the ungodly beam from the once young child fire out with unmatched size, blasting through the forest in uncontrollable rocket until eventually, in a mega explosion, Dante and the Oozaru's golden beam of energy would detonate for a devastating show of power, seen and heard from miles and miles away. That was Goten! Still leaving a stunned Trunks to just hold on for dear life onto the ground, as he could hardly believe the sheer power he would be sensing. All while the giant golden Uzaru, almost in victory, would continue to scream with his arms raised. And in the distance, where the explosion and Dante once was, only rising smoke and destruction would indeed be seen. That is until, in a sudden, volumetric burst of aura, demonic aura, something would emerge from the ground and with a vengeance. As within the column, a lone dark figure would begin rising out. Thunder and lightning crackling all over, as whoever would be arising would not quite be the same as whoever went in. As with an ominous silence, Dante would rise, a little scratched and dirtier, but still in one piece, staring forward with the same glowing eyes he had just before he murdered Bardock, as he would then simply say, 3%. Time to put you down, beast! And without any hesitation, straight from the rising spread of energy, Dante would blast out straight forward. Surprising even the Uzaru, as the ant-like foe in the distance would get closer and closer until... With a shriek, the near-mindless beast would finally understand it was in true danger. Slamming a fist right on the button, right on Goten's overgrown nose, sending the beast into an uncomfortable roar, as his eyes would close, wincing immediately. But with a far more instant recovery than expected, the beast would then reopen its eyes and swing something from the side in response. And soon enough, we would see exactly what that would be, as masterfully making use of its gigantic Saiyan tail, the Golden Uzaru would swing it from behind with such speed and intensity, we wouldn't even be able to see it impacting with Dante. Only the aftermath, as after being sent like a bullet, the demon guard would shoot away to eventually crash into a mountain far off in the woods. But with a raucous explosion, this too would do nothing to Dante, who would smash out of the confines of the rock feature near immediately. You inferior monkey! I forget, you have such strange appendages! But regardless of him being physically unfazed, facially, his anger and annoyance would be apparent, now that a problem bigger than Bardock was clearly facing him. I haven't got time for this! Son Goku awaits! But rushing back in, it would now be clear Dante was not looking for this to go on much further. But the Golden Uzaru, now seemingly learning from the past, would be prepared to actually attack as he arrives this time, lifting his right paw up with rage before swiping it right down with unfathomable force. But even with his surprising level of speed, the demon guard would simply just be faster and more agile, vanishing instantly on the spot. Silly beast! eventually appearing right behind the Uzaru bizarrely. That is until... Let me show you your true weakness. As out of nowhere, the Royal Demon Guard would grab tightly onto the thick tail of Goten with both of his muscular arms, but locked into place, it would seem not to rip it off as previously seen in Dragon Ball, but for something far more spectacular. As unleashing an effort-ridden screech, tightening his grip even further and flexing all his muscles, velocity would begin shifting upwards for both Uzaru Goten and Dante until... As soon as the scene would zoom out, the giant ape would be seen flying into the sky, upside down, lifted unbelievably by the Royal Demon Guard, as if he were weighing nothing. And just like that, it would culminate with the Golden Uzaru looking more like a bird in the sky, as he would be thrust roughly straight towards it. Goten! How strong is this guy? And as Trunks would watch on at the new development, all he could do was stand in panic. Damn it! If only... But tightening his grip quickly, his internal frustration would become clear, as he would reminisce thinking, if only I had that power from before. Why can't I tap into it again? I don't get it. Where did it come from? But back with Goten, still he would be flying higher and higher. With the non-verbal Uzaru only able to continue to roar. Lord Lucif will have no use for such a large trophy. But down below, with his palm now stretched up, generating ki within his hand, Dante would coldly and in finality let out... Die! And with that, launch a seismic display of energy, fit to completely evaporate an Uzaru the size of Goten. And as the Uzaru would see the beam very quickly reach up to the Golden Uzaru's height, its size in comparison would become all the more apparent. But in a shock response, the creature would be far from going out without a fight, as within its own beastly mouth once again, black primal energy would form until... As expected, Golden Uzaru Goten, now with the advantage of being in the sky, would slam down an energy beam of his own, ready to fight back and show this is far from over. And just like that, a beam struggle among colossal titans, both physically and metaphorically, would take place, as Dante would continue to push more and more, while Goten in his Uzaru state would continue a never-ending roar. And surprisingly, the two beams would meet in the middle, and neither would be moving either way. From a child? This is ridiculous! As Dante, noticing this, would show signs of losing his patience. All while Goten, like a machine, would just continue to push. The amount of energy within his now giant body now simply incalculable. Enough! But abruptly ending this situation, Dante would be done, claiming an end as he would then yell,
4%!
As just like that, the beam would instantly, in a literal flash, 10x in size, be right in the Golden Uzaru's face and about to finish the child once and for all. Leaving the beastly Saiyan puzzled, as all he would see now would be his own blast being swallowed up by another. Letting out a giant scream in fear, but as we would see his massive ape-like face become lost in the light and the yellow of his eyes even fading, it would all prove futile. What's happening? But in a sudden and unexpected change of scenery, we would unbelievably now find ourselves with Trunks, but not just any Trunks, the God Killer Trunks from the future, who instinctively begins looking at his palm as suddenly it becomes electrified. Trunks? It's happening again, isn't it? And as Goku and Vegeta would now be around him to notice, Goku would remember this isn't the first time this happened, leading to his father Vegeta inquiring, Trunks, what is that? Don't you know how to control your ki? I know I wasn't there to teach you in your timeline, but surely this is just the basics. To which Trunks would respond, No, father, I do know. This never happened until I arrived here. I don't know what it is, and it's hard to explain. But it feels like my energy is being activated, but not by me. What the? As with this confusion still in the air, out of nowhere, some semblance of an answer would appear, as Trunks, with his eyes blank and his hair spiked completely, would re-tap into his Super Saiyan Rage form and instantly headbutt a completely none the wiser Dante. My beam! Disorientating the demon guard just enough for his own beam to be moved off target, as his arm is forced to move in tandem. This slight movement causing what seems like a godsend of a change of trajectory, as the beam would shift and move away from the Uzaru's face, heading to the side of his neck instead. But unfortunately, after letting out a gruesome yell of a wounded animal, blood would be seen seeping up from below the Golden Uzaru's chin. And as the giant ape would fall down now, seemingly having lost the strength to even stay in the air, the extent and severity of his injuries would be far more clear, as leaking literal liters of blood into the air, all of it would be coming from an exposed wound on his neck, one unfortunately caused by the changed trajectory of Dante's beam. And as it would fall, the Uzaru would also slowly turn back to Goten's original boy form, until reaching an eventual hard crash into the ground. Goten! Wait, you brat! But Trunks, seeing this firsthand, would immediately come to his aid, flying instantly away from Dante as if he were never of any interest at all, as the demon guard would just watch on angrily. With his newfound form, siphoning power from the alternate Trunks, with unmatched speed, Trunks would shoot through the air. Goten! And as he would arrive, his tone would be happy, a smile on his face until... Goten? No! Goten! Until he would land right at Goten's feet, and in front of him would be a sight that would be all too much for the young Saiyan. Goten! As Trunks' facial expression alone, going blue, still only able to mutter one word and one name, would just stare down cold, his body unmoving, almost as if whatever he was seeing was something he couldn't help anyway. As finally shown laid out on the ground, the young Goten would be back to his normal form, but at what cost? As with his throat slit from that final beam from Dante, blood would profusely be pouring out. Trunks! But even with the blood in his lungs and windpipe, even as his eyes would begin to visibly fade, he would still manage to gargle out his best friend's name one final time. No! You can't go like this, Goten! Somebody help! Somebody! Dad! And understanding the situation, with no senzu beans and no access to the Dragon Balls, all the young Saiyan could do would be to break down in tears, yelling at the top of his voice, and like the boy he is, straight for his father. But panic would only be on offer as the reply, as turning his head, he would know and remember he was not alone. You monster! As behind him, approaching rapidly, would of course be Dante, not satisfied with one almost confirmed kill, but needing another. I'm sick of you silly rodents! Hopefully news of this doesn't get out to Lord Lucif. What an embarrassment for me to take this long! Help us! But even as Dante would chase, trying to make right his mistakes, Trunks, in a delirious state, lost for answers and any other choice, would continue to scream out into the void for a helping hand. His aura exploding, larger and more brighter, almost like trying to make a signal on the planet's surface. Silence already! But ultimately, Dante would now be right near, and with his arms cocked back, ready to end the cries for help once and for all. Launching his pure black fist with such speed, it would seem like it was traveling interdimensionally, until suddenly something would stop his fist. An energy of some kind, but rock solid. What is? Leaving Dante stunned, stopped in place, as he could hardly believe that the other young child Saiyan could do this. But as he would slowly raise his face, a shadow would be over him, and it wouldn't be the Trunks we know, as he mutters, "Wait, who in the name of Lucif are you?" could say the same to you, friend. As unbelievably, in a shock entrance out of the time portal of all things, God Killer Trunks would arrive in front of the young Trunks to stop Dante's fist, and with ease. Huh? Wait, aren't you? As turning around baffled by his calls being answered, with tears still in his eyes, he would instantly recognize the flowing purple hair that could only belong to him. Yes, it's him, Trunks. He is you, son. As suddenly, a second very recognizable voice would be heard about to come out of the portal. It would seem more surprises were still to come. Dad! As next up out of the portal, inexplicably would now be Vegeta, walking confidently out as his son would hardly be able to believe his eyes. No! This isn't possible! That is Prince Vegeta! How could he know my location before I knew his? Leaving Dante to recoil in complete shock as he would peer closer and immediately recognize the undeniable scowl of Vegeta. Dad! Are you real? And as Vegeta would walk out immediately to approach his son, Trunks would still be disbelieving of his fortune. Immediately jumping forward with speed and hugging right onto his father, tightly, which Vegeta would reciprocate with one arm while looking down and saying, There. You did well, boy. I'm proud of your strength. But I am here now. As Trunks, sniffling away, would just mutter back, I just knew it. I knew you would come back for me, Dad. But as Trunks would continue looking up, hiding away from his sorrow, compensating it with extreme excitement for his father, Vegeta would just look on behind the young warrior towards the lying body in the distance, who he would recognize immediately and also notice was no longer moving anymore. As with a sorrowful face, the proud Saiyan would let out, Yes, son, I've come for you, but I fear I may have come too late. Huh? As Trunks, realizing where his father was looking now, would immediately then turn his head back, simultaneously returning to base, his eyes almost scared to accept reality again. As now, on the ground, now truly lifeless, dead, would be Son Goten, no longer making a sound, and his chest no longer pumping. His eyes would finally go blank. Goten! And with this realization that not even his father being here could change this, Trunks would let out one final scream in sadness as his eyes burst out an even greater flood of tears. Stop it! This isn't the time! But quickly, even with his sorrowful look, Vegeta for some reason would stop Trunks' mourning, covering his mouth abruptly as if silence was now needed. And soon, all would be explained when a certain final foot would begin walking out of the time portal. And of course, it would be Son Goku. but not in his usual cheery or curious self, rather with his head ducked down and in complete silence, not a word, as his feet would then begin walking slowly towards a certain direction, each step measured as if without confidence, with fear. As finally stopping, our hero Goku would stand before Goten, his dead youngest son, now brutally murdered before him. Never before had he actually ever seen his own blood die in person, but today it would all hit him. Goten! I'm sorry! I'm sorry! As now seeing Goku in a river of uncontrollable tears, the weight of seeing his second-born's death would weigh heavy on his shoulders. This, coupled with everything else he had been through, the all-powerful Saiyan would finally break down, continuing, I failed you. I failed you again. I'll bring you back. I promise, son. But meanwhile, the Royal Demon Guard, now having seen more than enough, with even the arrival of the third God Killer, would immediately jump back from Trunks' grip, looking towards the third Saiyan and saying, Son Goku. Naturally, it would be a God Killer bargain sale. Both of you have arrived here some way, somehow. But it matters not, as you two were next on the list anyway. Shut it, clown! But Vegeta, now annoyed at the demon so callously addressing the two after what he had just done, would step forward in a rage, looking straight at Dante and letting out, The only one next on the list is Lucifer, after I'm done tearing you piece by piece. Kakarot, I'll deal with him. You take whatever time you need. You don't need to...
No!
But suddenly, interrupting Vegeta, with his eyes closed, Goku would reject any of the prince's plans, his body frozen still, leaving a silence in the air before... He's mine! He's my kill! Before turning around and in a shock reveal, showing himself with red seraphim eyes for the very first time. The rage, the anger, the sadness within him would finally bring out the darkness deep within Goku's heart. Now we would finally see the true limitless potential of the Saiyan known as Kakarot. But that was it for today's video, guys, and if you made it this far, leave me a hashtag Goku in the comments down below and let me know just what hell Goku will unleash now and what happens when he finds Bardock. Or just find out what happens right now on my Patreon, where you can see the full next video, fully voice acted, soundtracked and edited for you to enjoy with over 4,500 plus other fans, as well as getting access to 250 plus other fan mangas too. It's the deal of the century.